Welcome to We're Not Afraid of the Dark, the podcast where we review every single episode of the classic 1990s Nickelodeon show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm Adam Dutch, joined by my brother Ben.
How's it going, everybody? All right, so the episode starts off with Gary from the Midnight Society stating that the Midnight Society is composed of people that don't go to the same schools, they don't have the same friends, and they all meet up in the woods to tell horror stories. My thing is, how did they meet each other in the first place?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, considering the internet was not accessible back at the time this first aired. You could just forget about trying to text someone. I mean, maybe there was a flyer like a grocery store or maybe something like that.
No, I think I know what happened. I don't know if you had to do it, but in order for, like the pen pal shit, maybe they were pen pals first.
That's a serious stuff, especially walking to the woods. And we start off with 7 kids in the Midnight Society. They're kind of literally Gary, Eric, who brings Frank, Kiki, Betty Ann, Kristen, and David. Like, me and Ben grew up in a very small area. I mean, most of these kids seem like they're in, I would say, early high school. So probably no more than 2 or 3 grades between each other. I mean, they have like 7 high schools there.
I mean,
it's very urban. I mean, they're in the middle of the woods somewhere.
that's a very good point.
Yeah, actually, later on in the series, it's revealed that it was Gary's grandfather that started the Midnight Society. A little known fact there. But Gary is the only character who is there for the majority of the series. David later returns in the second run, we'll call it, of the series. The show went off air in 1995, came back in 1999. Gary returned for 3 episodes in that run. So our first episode here, which isn't the first episode that aired technically, the pilot episode, which me and Ben just recorded, is The Tale of the Twisted Claw, technically episode 4. That episode debuted in Canada on October 31st, 1990. In the United States, it debuted that following Halloween on October 31st, 1991. And I do remember watching that episode the first night it aired. I watched the show in the original run, every single episode when it was brand new on the air. Ben, of course, me and my brother saw some episodes, but his memory is a little more fuzzy than I am. There's a 4-year difference.
Well, yeah. I mean, this one was better than the one that they aired, than the pilot.
See, I disagree with that. I actually enjoyed the Twisted Claw more than this one.
Really?
Yeah, I just had a little more things happening in the Twisted Claw one. Where we only have 2 scenes really here. We have them in the woods and we have Dr. Vink's cottage for this episode.
You know, I'll be honest, for about half of that, I'm like, okay, it's the Phantom cab. Where the fuck's the cab?
Exactly. The cab's in the fucking episode for like less than 3 minutes, I would say.
So it really had nothing. It had little to do with the cab. But
so what would be a better title for this?
Oh, hell, I don't know. They were lost in the woods. How about
The Tale of Vink's Riddles?
Vink's Meth Lab. Did you see that in there?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is he making with all these chemistry bottles, especially at night here?
Yeah, it's a meth lab. And what's up with his Lord of the Rings cottage?
That's true. But also, Dr. Vink's one of my favorite characters in this series. He's an entrepreneur. He's apparently a chemist, or some type of chemist in this episode. He later owns a restaurant. He's a movie theater. Oh, he's a filmmaker later on. He's just a jack of all trades. Going back to how this episode starts, we have an introduction, and when members of the Midnight Society are introduced, they are blindfolded and taken to a woods. Huh. When else does that happen?
Yeah, well, I guess a lot of the things nowadays, like just how different the world is. Like, okay, there's a dude approaching us in the woods, and it's midnight. Like, oh, yeah, there's a pedophile. You know?
Yeah. Well, there was glass system at that point. We'll come back to that one. So Frank is sat down, still blindfolded while telling the story. David's his sponsor, so they apparently found each other somehow. Maybe it was someone from church. Yeah, that or this area has a high amount of private or charter schools. They're different religions. So our story begins, appropriately enough, our podcast has two brothers hosting it, and this first episode are two brothers lost in the woods. Now, he spills water on the map. It says it's unreadable. However, the map looks like it was pretty intact there.
Yeah, what they hand draw it on a napkin? Like, how that's the only way that's going to run, getting wet.
Buzz is the younger one, and I really have to question this kid's acting skills. Did you notice that, Ben?
Just him?
I mean, yeah, there's some other bad acting in this, but this kid apparently, and if he's listening right now, I really hope he doesn't go find all the stuff I put online and give you really negative reviews. I understand it's child actors, but me and Ben talked. I mean, it seemed like there was no casting. It was just like someone's kid was all set. Hey, we have to cast this part real quick. Just jump on in. Especially the scene where they show him the wild boar's brain. He says, ew, and then cool, like a complete change of reaction, just like that.
Behold, a true wonder of nature, the brain of a wild boar.
Ew, cool.
I mean, I'm sure that was scripted that way. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, pass the blame. My other gripe with them being lost in the woods, I mean, me and Ben grew up in a country area. There's woods all around us. What did we do when we got lost in the woods?
You just keep going in one direction, and then that's it. You'll come out somewhere and know where you are.
Yeah, I mean, they probably weren't in a national park where they have 500 acres of wild forest ahead of them. But my other favorite was he has a compass, and they say later they were walking all day in the wrong direction because the compass was by his belt buckle and messing up the magnet. Now, apparently these kids didn't pay attention to science class because all they had to do was look at the fucking sun, say, okay, it's setting in the west. If I go that way, I'm going to go south, or that way, I'm going to go north. So they said they were going one direction the whole damn time.
Why was, I don't know, why was Buzz packed for like a 3-day event and then Denny didn't have anything other than a jean jacket with the sleeves cut off of it?
Yeah, he seems to be kind of the dominant one in this brohood happening. So maybe just put all that shit.
Made him carry it all.
Yeah, out of everything. So they got to change the clothes. They got to. He has a canteen with him as well.
That's good.
Well, they obviously don't have cell phones at the time, so that's not in there. No tablets. Maybe some stuff to start a fire. Bandana, maybe.
All right. So eventually they see a flashlight in the distance, and it's this guy Flynn who offers to take them to Dr. Vink's cabin.
Vink. Vava. That's how I say it. Yeah, I don't know how he messed it up though.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so he offers to take them there and not take them anywhere else. You know, like we were saying earlier, in this day and age now, there's no way that you wouldn't think anything other than sinister thoughts of, oh yeah, this guy's approached me middle of the night in the woods.
So I was also thinking, Denny being the badass that he is, why did he ever think to like knock Flynn out and take the flashlight or something like that?
I mean, what good would have that done?
Well, they get away from a pedophile.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, if he was a pedophile, but I mean, like I was saying, this day and age. But I mean, a flashlight and you're still lost. Doesn't really help you out.
Yeah, well, he says that he knows a doctor who has a cottage in the woods. Denny questions him about who has a cottage in the woods, who's a doctor. However, maybe it's Dr. Vink's like summer home or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah, or his meth lab.
Yeah, it was a meth lab.
Yeah, I like how there's also a tree growing through the fucking thing.
I told you, it's the cottage from Lord of the Rings.
Dr. Vink is a little apprehensive to help them. They keep begging and being crybabies about using the phone, but Dr. Vink is insistent on them solving a riddle.
The first riddle that he asks is, how far can you walk into the woods?
You see, I wouldn't have gotten that as a child.
Me either.
Yeah, but Buzz apparently says he's great at riddles. He gets that one right, but can't get the other one correct for a while, which is the device plot of the story, which I thought was a little odd. He keeps second guessing himself.
Well, I mean, he's a little kid trying to prove himself to his big brother.
Here we go. What is it that has no weight, can be seen by the naked eye, and if you put it in a barrel, it would make the barrel lighter?
Ben, could you actually solve this riddle right now?
Hold on. What's the riddle again?
The riddle is, what can you put in a barrel? Can't be seen by the naked eye. It's weightless. And if you put it in there, it makes the barrel lighter.
A hole.
I'm glad you got the answer right, because I remember being a kid and not being able to solve this. So you probably would have saved our fucking lives that night if we got stuck in this maniac's cabin.
So that's what the answer is?
Yes, it is. Oh, he says you can leave here, or
you can give me a specimen,
yeah,
which would have been semen sample.
Yeah, I wonder what Dr. Vink's going to do with that.
I mean, depends on how much he can produce, I'm sure.
Well, what Dr. Vink does show them is a pretty enlarged human hand, it looks like, which causes the boys to scream out loud and run out the door.
With their cheesy screams that this is, being pretty prominent in.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see this just about every episode, I think.
I hope so.
But this hand is obviously not human size. So what was in some kind of...
That actually might be legitimate because, well, I don't want to get all realistic on you, but when you put something in water, it will bloat like that. Also, the jar and the water will make it more, zoomed in when you looked at it.
Great to know. So what do you think Dr. Vink's going to be doing with these human body parts?
Maybe he's trying to create make Frankenstein's monster. Who knows? I don't remember these episodes.
Yeah, we do see a lot of classic stories come back in this series. We have the Monkey Paw episode. We have an episode about vampires. There's a lot of episodes about someone either dead or missing, or some abandoned spots, but we don't have an episode about Frankenstein that I can remember. Something building something.
When he gets the riddle wrong, Dr. Vink gives them directions, and then he shows them the hand in the jar, and they get scared and run out. But they were scared. But I don't know why I would still take directions from a dude that just showed me dismembered hand. But lo and behold, they still take the directions and wait for this cab that obviously works with Dr. Vink.
Yeah, that's a little sketchy considering this cab looks like a piece of shit. I mean, it looks like the guy was in a mud bog event or something like that before he came in there. Although I have a good trivia question for you, Ben.
Go ahead.
We just watched this episode a few minutes ago. What is the phone number on top of the cab?
It's all fours.
Yeah. Do you think it's odd that they didn't just do the standard and pick all fives?
I mean, who knows? Maybe. I don't know.
If this show were a lot bigger and I had more time on my hands, I would just see who has that number 44444. And
maybe in Canada, it's all fours and then it's all fives everywhere else.
That's a good point. This being a Canadian series, are their phone numbers the same format as ours? Because I know some of our countries, the area code is just 2 digits.
Well, see, everything has a country code too,
Mm-hmm.
So it could very well be that way. But you would need the country code first.
Yeah, maybe one day. So they're in the cab and they realize it's Flynn again, who looks a little pale now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure as a kid, we wouldn't expect the, oh, it was my hand, shot when he's like, oh yeah, he took a specimen from me because I couldn't get a riddle right. But I mean, watching it now, we clearly knew that's where it was going to go.
Yeah, and also the fact that they say he's been taking people to that cottage for 40 years, and Dr. Vink showed him Flynn's hand. So where the hell are the other parts at? After 40 years of collecting, you figure he has some more shit, I don't know, a leg or some eyeballs or...
Ooh, hold on. I might have found a blooper.
Uh-oh.
Pause this. I want to see if Flynn's hands were in there when he first meets him.
We just went back, and it is definitely his hand is in his pocket when they meet up.
Well, that's good. At least they were consistent about that.
Yeah, that could have been a really easy mistake there. Flynn apparently has some bad flashbacks here because he starts driving a little erratically and starts telling the story of how he got the riddle wrong 40 years ago and has a bad crash almost every night, correct?
Yeah, every night.
We're talking about over 12,000 days here. You think this guy would have more shit at that cabin, right?
He has a last chance to get the riddle right. And, Denny or Danny or Denny with a D. Well, not a D, an E or I.
It's D. D-E-N-N-Y.
Denny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just like the popular all-night breakfast place.
Man, best hangover food ever. So Denny's like strangling him, trying to get him to give the answer out, which I don't think is very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of apprehensive. He has to get this whole fucking explanation. Okay, helium. Yeah, you can't see it. Air. Okay, yeah, but you take something out, and the hair. Hey, motherfucker, we're about to die here. Just take the fucking thing, and then explain it to me later.
Yeah. Well, I like how he's like, when he's explaining it again, and then he finally gets it right. He did it kind of like Jeopardy, where like he had to just draw it out instead of like, he could have very well been like, oh, what is a hole? Because he was going over the whole riddle 3 or 4 times. No sense in that.
Yeah, and as they approach the tree, I'm thinking to myself, Flynn's driving really erratically through all this woodland, and here we see this weak-ass tree. I guarantee you hit that thing's probably going about 50 miles an hour. Put a little dent in the car, the airbags deploy, but the guys in the back seat were probably fine. I mean, it's not like going over one of those cliffs that they saw earlier or something like that.
Well, I like if they were going 50 miles an hour, okay, and then they're all of a sudden not in that cab anymore. That weak ass roll tumble thing that they did, they would still be going 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's another good point because the cab just magically disappears and they land probably 7 feet away from the tree or something like that. But after that, they do a great bro hug, which Denny has to shake off a little bit. Gotta push his brother away. And then they see the headlights of another car.
And Dennis Quaid's driving.
That guy did have a very strong resemblance to
He
Dennis
looked
Quaid.
like Dennis Quaid.
Although I have no gripe with this. So it was obvious that their parents reported the 2 boys missing. And we have one ranger driving around who just happens to run into them. Now, with the case of missing children in the woods, don't you think there'd be a few helicopters around that thing and like some teams of like 20 patrolmen going around trying to scout the fucking forest open?
Well, I mean, I don't know. See, makes me think of the whole like when you report a missing person. Some places may. Well, I don't know.
They're not going to wait 3 days, like in some cases. It's minors.
It's supposed to be 24 hours.
Not with minors.
With minors, you're right. The Amber Alert and all that other stuff.
Well, that didn't exist back then.
Are you? I don't know. When was the Amber Alert?
Probably like early mid 2000s.
I would disagree with you.
You want to bet?
I mean, maybe.
Let's check on this. Because off topic here, I remember one of my DJ friends said that Amber's sister was actually in his bar when it was DJing one night and said she came up to him. All right, so Amber Alert on Wikipedia. Yeah, 1996, the origin of it.
Okay, so that's not 2000.
You mean 1990? This episode came out in 1990 then.
I know, but you said the Amber Alert came out in 2000.
Oh, I was mistaken on that, but the Amber Alert just didn't exist back then. So after the boys are found nice and safe by the friendly Dennis Quaid Ranger, we are flashed back to the Midnight Society where Frank is finishing up the story, and they take a vote. Now, Ben, if you were a member of the Midnight Society at this time, would you say yay or nay to this story?
Well, I mean, I liked it better than the what was it, Twisted Claw?
Yeah, the Twisted Claw.
I mean, like, I'd give old Frank a try.
Yeah, I remember there's an episode. No one ever gets completely denied outright. There is one episode where it has to be anonymous or unanimous. They give him another shot after that. However, I don't think there was there's not a situation where someone's just flat out, hey, that story sucked, don't come back here. So Frank is voted into the Midnight Society, so we have a full cast now for our first season. Now, Ben, you said you liked it better than Twisted Claw. However, is this story scary?
This one? No.
Yeah, I agree. And now I'm going to put this. It's not the worst episode in the series. It's not in the bottom 10. However, I put it in the bottom third, definitely. There's some episodes that really didn't belong in the series at all. But there's also some way better acted, way better written, better produced, all that kind of good stuff with the series.
I mean, well, I'm sure we'll see it get better as we get through the seasons. You know, if this was that was before the pilot, you know.
Well, the pilot was the first one, Ben. The pilot aired in 1990, which is Twisted Claw, and the first episode of this was 1992.
Oh, okay.
However, this was filmed and shot in 1990. It aired in Canada before it did in America.
All right, so that's what I was a little mixed up on.
And that wraps up our first episode of We're Not Afraid of the Dark. Be sure to look out for new episodes every Wednesday. Feel free to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. This is produced by Modulation Studios. To reach out to us, send us an email at modulationstudios@gmail.com.